Hey y'all, today Gwen and I are here for the 12th episode of Apple and Oak.
Hi, listeners. So I'm so happy that we're here to be able to have Deb here with us so that she has the opportunity to share her story. It's very important to her and for us that we are able to help her with that. When you get to kind of release what you want to say and talk about something that's obviously very
Almost taboo in a way.
Yes, that
Yeah.
you get that out. You kind of have that relief and closure. I think that's hopefully what will help Deb get through this as well.
Yeah. And we have talked about it. I do feel having a platform, it is important to try and get some awareness of these issues out there.
So this episode's going to be talking different aspects of the healthcare system, how it's horrendous with all the changes they've done.
And the stigma.
And the stigma with many different things involving healthcare and just the aging population.
Yeah. And the stigma that comes with doctor prescribed medications.
So basically, when you walk in somewhere, the doctors are literally profiling you the moment you come in that clinic. And a lot of times they just say, oh, that person's probably wanting drugs. You know, they don't have any pain issues or they're just here because they want to complain. Like, those are the stigmas I see and I hear about a lot nowadays. And they don't even know the person, but they just already have an assumption that this person is this way, and it's not, and then that carries with them, and there'll be notes in their file now saying the doctor has put notes in the file, and it stays with them. You can't get rid of those notes. So one doctor may not like you, those notes will affect you, and they'll say, oh, this person's a drug seeker. Well, you aren't, but that's going to be on your medical file, and you don't always get to see that.
Well, and there's no way to tell somebody else's pain. Pain is invisible.
Everybody has different tolerances, different things they can put up with. And that's what the problem is. And that's what Deb has been going through.
Yeah. So she's going to be here today with us to touch on some of that. And it might be relevant. It might not be. But
I'm sure there's people out there that have certain situations that are similar. Their family's gone through it, or a friend, or, so they've seen it firsthand as well. But I know I've seen it many times over the years, and it's really hard to kind of navigate. And you just need that one person out there in the healthcare system that's really, good and is able to kind of help you get somewhere else with all the problems and things. And then hopefully that person will help you get where, you need to be with your medical issues.
A catastrophic break in my hip there. That kind of changed direction and where I was going to maybe talk, because originally it was going to be music, right? Because I'm an accordion player. In 2017, I was named one of the 100 most loved accordionists in the world. And that's how I learned about your podcast, because my boyfriend, so we met back in September of last year, 2024, and everything was going good, and then things were going a little fast for me, so I said, so we took a break. And but before I met him, I had a fall in a restaurant here in town. So lo and behold, I figured I broke my hip, because they put new flooring and it was bumpy and whatnot, and I was wearing high heels, and so down I went, hit my hip, hit my buttocks. And the guy I was dating, just one first date, sat there, didn't get out of his seat.
wow.
I
I fell hard, and
You didn't flinch, basically. It's she's on the floor.
Yep, and I managed to get myself up. I was so embarrassed, right? And it was end of the day, so it was only ourselves and probably the server. So that's fine. I get up and he goes, "Oh, I thought I was going to have to take you to the hospital." And so the next day, he's like, "Oh, I think everything's okay with us." No, it's not. because, that was not cool.
You did not pass the test.
So
No.
you didn't make it past the first date.
Oh, no.
We've got lots in common.
No, well, that date started out with, come on. It's like, he ordered first. Okay? I'm a lady. You let me order first.
Oh, he ordered first. He didn't look at you to order. Oh, interesting.
Talked about himself the whole time, pretty much. Never asked hardly anything about me. And then oh no, there was another thing that's too risque to even mention when he was talking about. Oh my gosh.
Please do. We
Oh
don't
no.
mind.
Anyway, he's like, oh well, I can't do this, but I can do that. And the server was right next, and I'm like, I'm turning 3 shades of red. And so yeah, all these things. It's like the perfect storm of the worst date ever.
Oh.
So anyways, so I'm like, yeah, no, you did not pass the test. So, and then a few days later, I met Ian.
Oh.
Yeah. So then, okay, like I said, things were going really great and stuff, and we met other friends of ours at the Legion, and we went dancing, and it was really great. And so anyways, we had a little lull over Christmas, and then in January, I get a knock on the door, and I look, oh, Ian.
Oh, he just showed up here and surprised you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he showed up,
nice.
and he's here. Oh, I'm just here to tell you about a podcast, and I was thinking about your music, and I was okay. And I said, well, why don't you come and have a cup of tea? And so we have been dating ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that he stood by me through thick and thin. I've gone through a lot. So I was at sort of the end of a 3.5-year thing with the Abbotsford police. It's supposed to be, it should have been nothing more than a traffic ticket at the most, right? Like, so I got pulled over allegedly excessively speeding, and this officer ramped it up to a violent arrest, pushing, pulling, twisting me out of my car, putting my head onto the highway. I have asthma. What I didn't know at that time is likely I probably had what I'm dealing with right now, which is I would have had, probably cancer, possibly. I'm not sure. But regardless, I couldn't breathe. And even when just like that black fellow, when he went, I can't breathe, and the police had their, I think on his throat or whatever. Well, it was
their knee or something?
Yeah, well, I had 3 of them on my back.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I couldn't breathe, and it's heat wave, smoke from fires. Anyway, they broke I don't know how many charter things, and I tried to fight it. I did my own charter application. I'm a certified experienced legal secretary, so I decided, I'm going to fight this and show you this isn't right. I was 6 years old. I didn't even have a speeding ticket. I've never had any criminal anything, so they ramped it up anyway. So it's turned out to be a good thing, and I decided at the end I wasn't feeling good, and I didn't know why, like I say, but my health, I didn't know I had all the break, and I didn't know I had cancer, and anyway, so I decided, they gave me an offer, and it was good, and they took away the ridiculous assaulting of a peace officer. That was dropped, and then, I just pled guilty to obstructing and resisting just to get rid of this. So anyway, but who thinks in their lifetime, I never in my lifetime thought someone like me would ever get arrested, let alone violently, right? So Ian stood by me. He was there for the 3-day trial. And he thought that, I'd murdered somebody or something. It was like 3.5 years, 3-day trial. It's like, anyway. But you know what doesn't break you? It makes you stronger.
It's true.
So little did I know that what was coming down the road, right?
Yeah.
So then, like I said, I probably I figured I broke something, but in November of last year, they did an x-ray, didn't show anything. So then pain started getting worse, and I was working at the time full time. And it just got to the point where my last 2 days before I my job ended, I was using a cane. So it was getting really bad. So then about a month ago, pain was getting like I said, crazy. I'm going physio, doing everything. And we were sort of chalking it up because I've always had a bit of chronic pain. So that's what everybody was kind of writing it off as. So I have a lot of topics. So this is one of them. Yeah. So chronic pain. Okay. So now I went to my doctor and she gave me some stuff for Toradol. I think it was for the pain. And I said, well, I think I need something more, something. Can I go to the hospital? Can you give me like Toradol shot or something? She says, yeah, probably that's the most they can give you. Fine. So I went over there and they took another x-ray. That showed the pelvic break in my lower left pelvis, right? So, okay. And they're like, well, it's healing or healed. I said, okay, but the pain is really, it's getting worse and worse. So then it got about the 23rd is when I had a slip. So just before then, I was starting to use crutches. I couldn't put any weight bear on this. So I was in the house where I was gonna try to go out with friends that night. I had a dress hanging in the hallway. I know better, and I was trying to clear everything right out of the way. Well, the dress was just a bit too long. My cane slipped on the bottom of the dress. So I didn't fall, but the cane slipped, and just that angle it went, and shouldn't have done anything to me, right? I feel and hear this intense pop and excruciating pain. And I knew immediately I broke something.
You knew.
Oh yeah, That is the pain, I think, and I've had a few flashbacks to that. Yeah, that is a pain that I've never experienced other than childbirth. And so now I'm in the hallway and I'm like, okay, my phone's on the other end of the house. What do I do?
Oh.
No. God has a reason why you meet people. So anyway, I slowly started making my way. I managed to bend down and get the cane because I couldn't walk without it, right? Like I just inched towards the kitchen. And lo and behold, 5 or 10 minutes later, I don't know exactly, but it was not very long, I get a knock on the door. And it's Ian. I'm like, Ian, I hurt myself. I said, I'll get to the door, but I'm very slow. I don't know what I said. There's something along that line, right? Yeah. So I managed to get out here and just reach for the door, opened it, and he's like, what happened? So I told him, and so he managed to get one of the chairs here, and I very gingerly sat down, and he goes, well, I can help you down the stairs. No, I can't move. So he goes, you want me to call 911, an ambulance? I said, yes. So we called 911. And then 2 very nice, but very petite ambulance attendants show up. And they're like, they do whatever assessment. And they're like, well, because your stairs and whatnot, the way it is, we'll have to get you to walk down. Well, I said, no, I cannot walk down. I need to be carried, and they gave me laughing gas, which took the edge off, but it by no means took away the pain. So anyways, they're like, we're gonna have to call the firemen.
Oh. Do they come?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's kind of fun.
So that was kind of forward. Nice firemen show up, and and so then they were discussing what are we gonna do, and so they're like, well, we'll just carry her on the chair. So 2 of them said 2 of us can do it. So and then they said, but now this is gonna hurt. We need to transfer you from the chair onto the stretcher. My gosh. Anyway, that was it. I can't even describe the pain of that, but anyway, they were amazing. And so then I got to got there and got to the hospital. Ian joined me, not too long after in the hallway, but I remember one of the doctors coming by. Now, you know, doctors, okay, usually they're busy, they're with their other patients. This guy came by, he lightly touched my right leg, because it was my left leg that's hurt, right? And he goes, I've ordered pain medication. Because I was like groaning. I'm like, just knock me out, okay? Just please just make me unconscious. That's how bad. So then he comes back a second time. He goes, they're mixing it up.
What did they give you?
Morphine, I think, hydromorph.
Yeah.
Lots of it. So then I had to get a CAT scan. So they had to wait till my pain came down before they could go in and x-ray and do CAT scan. So then the surgeon, so then it wasn't that night, but the next night, so I spent, I think the first night, it's kind of vague, but I think the first night I spent part of it in the emergency and then went upstairs to surgery. And so by the next afternoon, I believe is when they did on the 25th of May, they did the surgery. But before he did the surgery, the surgeon says, it doesn't look good. He goes, it's showing lesions, cancer lesions on my collarbone. It's in my bones, is what he said. So I mean, I had suspected, because I had a lump in my breast, which I only found about a month before. And this is another talk to women, very, very important to self-examine yourself. And I was trying to take care of myself, but the problem is with the chronic pain, the system, you know, they're well-meaning and everything, but they drop the ball. And, you know, I was trying to get into a pain specialist to get, you know, maybe a shot of cortisone or something, right, for the hip and whatnot. But the first x-ray, of course, didn't show anything, right? So it was April, I got a rejection letter from them. And and so what's concerning is how they can brush off stuff. So they, when I got the second x-ray, I went back to them and I said, hey, you know, can you rethink and maybe have me as a patient, right? Because now there's a break, which they did. But when I mentioned to the office person that was doing the triaging, she said that we know people like you. We've dealt with people like you. We can treat 9 to 1 of you. And I was kind of shocked by that. And that was actually the first time I spoke to her, when they rejected it. Really stressful to be treated like that, to be dismissed, to be. So then what they said is that I'd taken opioids years ago for pain. And I got myself off them. I halved them, and I got my doctor to take me completely off them. This is 9 years ago. And I wasn't an addict. I had pain issues. They gave me stuff. Anyway, you get stigmatized. So now they were like,
I agree with you on that. It's a huge problem now.
It's a huge problem, and they were going to reject me because of this. They were going to send me to Surrey. They said I needed multidisciplinary team, and so this is before they knew anything about all the breaks and the cancer, right? So they're just basing it on my question to her was, does that doctor that's going to see me for the pain, does he give T3s? I didn't know T3s are opioids. It was an innocent question, and I'd been given them in the hospital when I went for when they did the second x-ray and found the pelvic break. They gave me 60 of them, right?
Okay, yeah.
But she says, if he knows you're taking that, if he knows you're taking any opioids, and she goes, and I said, well, I'm taking Toradol, and she mentioned something about some other trazodone, I think it was. She goes, you took trazodone, and it's like, the doctor that I'm with right now has never prescribed trazodone to me. So this if it was years ago. And then I said I was on Toradol, and she goes, you can't, he won't take you as a patient if you're on Toradol, but she says, but he'll accept you if you're on anti-inflammatories. Mm-hmm. Well, Toradol is an anti-inflammatory. So here is an office person, basically, in my opinion, diagnosing.
Yeah, she's not. It's above her pay grade.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Big no. And, you know, and then influencing the doctor, because then she wrote a 2-page letter which then went on my doctor's, you know, file, right? Now that's a scary thought, because now if your doctor's not around to explain anything, you switch doctors, that's on your record. So now that's on my record, right? So, but since all that happened, like I told my doctor, I really don't want to go back to those people, even if the opportunity arises where I need to go back, I'll find somewhere else, because that was complete, because they delayed. If they had given me something for the pain, I'm not saying all the rest of it still might have been there, but it might have prevented me from using the cane, which would have prevented the whole break and all that, right? That being said, the break maybe quickened the process for finding the cancer. So anyway, back to the cancer thing. So they did I didn't know they were going to do a partial hip, they call it partial hip replacement, but it's more like a full replacement, right? Okay, a full replacement has a smaller socket and a smaller, call it, metal rod that goes down. But if you, Ian's like, yeah, you'll be up and around in 2 months. Let me describe to you, Ian, what they did to me. Give you some visuals. It's like, I have a 12-inch, at least, scar. 12-inch.
Oh, yeah.
There were 33 staples in there. They would have spread my leg open. And when I got going into the surgery room, I can remember, I didn't have my glasses on, but I could see the guy was fiddling with a drill. And I'm like, are you gonna?
Oh no!
I'm like, are you using that on me? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, it's a good thing I can't see anything else. Like if I'd seen this saw, I think sore leg or all, I would have been out of there.
I would too.
So, but yeah, they basically, he laughed and he says they had to re-break your leg. They basically sawed my bone out is what they did. They spread it open, sawed it out, put a socket in there, and then they hammer it into.
Oh man!
And then if you wonder for why you're sore after it, and then the expected recovery time is 2 to 3 days typically. No, yeah. That's the look.
That's like the worst days, like the 3rd day after an injury.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was like, I mean, the throbbing, like my knee, it was just the throbbing. It's just insane. And then they want you to do exercises and stuff. And so before you're released, you have to be able to walk the steps, walking up and down steps, and your pain level has to be controlled. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, mine was not controlled. It was, but you know, I've got cancer pain on top of it going on. So, but my surgeon, oddly, I don't understand, signed off. He passed, so he didn't even talk to me after the surgery. So he passed me to a family physician because my doctor didn't have hospital privileges, right? I just had a sense of peace about this whole thing. I've tried to have, you know, make light of it, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna cry anymore. I'm gonna, you know, life's too short. So, anyways, so then I get told I'm going to be discharged. And I said, discharged? I have to meet this criteria. Your pain has to be under control, which it wasn't yet. You have to be able to walk upstairs. They hadn't even done my exercises with me. You know, they came one day to do it, but I wasn't able to do it that day because of pain. And so I said, well, do it maybe later. And they said, no, we'll come another day. Anyway, I get told I'm going upstairs to medical, and they asked me to bring Ian in. Like we're not common law, but we are boyfriend, girlfriend, and so he's a huge part of my life. And so he came right away, and then they put me back upstairs. Now you talk about full circle. We're back upstairs in the same bed that I started and that they kicked me out of. And so I'm in there. So they're talking about discharging me that night. Well, I just, everything, I'd held it in, you know, like I say, sense of humor and trying to be strong and everything. But, and then Ian was out that evening, couldn't join me. And they were kind of pressuring me because, you know, they wanted me to come home without any help, right? I was trying to get care aids in, and they said, no, we can't give you care aids. You have to come home alone. Helped me and got me aids from the Red Cross and stuff to be arranged to have, right? Mm-hmm. But still, I felt like I needed someone to walk through the house, because mobile homes are a little different. They're narrower and things, and mm-hmm. and I wasn't prepared. Who's prepared? I'm 64. Who's prepared for this kind of thing? Just goes to show, right? Anyway, we so that's fine. That night I had a bit of a cry in, and I had a little chat. You know, just because I needed him that night. Sometimes you need someone there. It's not just physically to help you with, you know, stuff that he fixed, you know, my walkway and everything, but I needed just a hug, right, from someone I know that really cares.
A lot.
Yeah. So that's fine. I had that night. So then the next night, they want me to move again. We're gonna. So one of the I think nurses it was came to me and said, we're gonna move you downstairs, level 1, into one of the. It's a closet probably. It's a converted room, right? Just like the one in the maternity was not. They signed that for overflow. That's what they called it. So just like in maternity, I was in an overflow room for surgical patients. And then someone said to me, well, it's not an overflow room. So I don't care. Whatever it is, I was in it. That's so now I'm like, and they go, well, you're the best candidate because you're walking. I'm like, I'm walking? And what about the rest of the surgical patients here? Are they not, some of them walking? I've been moved 4 times. I've had 2 breaks, a pelvic, a hip replacement. I've got cancer, my bones, which they could break, and you want me to move? He goes, yeah. And I go, nope, not moving. And he goes, oh, yes, you are. And I go, oh, no, I'm not.
People don't like being told no, right? And it's like, no, I'm telling you no. And people are just like, they can't handle it. It's like,
oh, you got mad at
yes all the time. Like, why?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you
have to just comply.
That's what I mean. I have a hard time because I'll say no. They're like, what? I'm like,
this was life-threatening.
No.
This was life-threatening, right?
But it's true. People don't like to hear no, and that's why he was like doing that with
I
me
know. And he was just following orders, right? And so apparently, talking to the nurse, apparently the orders came from admin. So probably their nose got out of joint because I should have been discharged the day that they were going to move me, right? They were probably annoyed that I'm taking up a surgical bed and blah, blah, blah. And it's too bad. And it's like, first of all, this is still surgical. I'm still recovering from the surgery. And see, the problem is I'm not typical. That's where these, in many fields, whether it's legal field, whether it's medical field, work, anything, if you don't fit this exact mold, the brains, they can't handle it. And so I was like, no, I'm not moving because it's my health. What about my health? I just had to be strong and deal with it. So the nurse said, we're not moving you. Or actually the person that first said it, he came back and you don't have to move. And I said to the nurse, I want to report this. I haven't done it yet. But I said to them, here's the thing. My mom, when she was in the hospital, she was in a care home. and she fell because, and there was a big class action lawsuit about this. She fell because on her sheet in their bathrooms, it said she had trouble seeing. Well, my mom was completely blind. And I'd given them twice, the ophthalmologist, whatever the specialist is, their report. So you have that report. You can see she was 90 pounds soaking wet. She had profound hearing loss, and she was like stage 3-4 renal failure and all this stuff, right? So she fell backwards because a carried, a new person, came in, likely not knowing her, didn't know that just looking at her, should have seen that she needs assistance. We tried to keep her as independent as possible, but towards the end she was getting weak. They didn't, she fell. So I come in on my birthday and she had a big bruise. I said, she's probably got a blood clot. And I said, what happened? Why didn't you guys contact me? Anyway, whatever their excuse was. So then 2 days later, my mom, they said she had an episode at this care home at lunch. And I said, I'm coming in. And they go, oh, no. I said, no, I'll be there. I come in, I have first aid. She's in the middle of having a heart attack. And they said, well, you said don't resuscitate her. I said, that's if she's unconscious and she's stopped breathing, don't resuscitate. She's in pain. She was like, backache and felt like she was gonna be nauseous, but nothing's happening, and all this stuff, right? So all the signs of a heart attack. So I said, get an ambulance. So we got her to the hospital. So going back to my complaint about the hospital. So when she was in there, now I had to make the terrible, horrible decision, and I'm sure other people have had to as well.
Next episode, we are going to finish off this conversation, and we're hoping to move on to more about musical endeavors. And
yes, and Deb's accordion music. We're going to focus on music, the development of music over the years, music that's not as popular now, like the accordion that Deb plays, so she's trying to keep it alive.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get her story of how she started with accordion and where that took her.
She's traveled around a lot, so
yeah,
there'll be some interesting stories, I'm sure, from her about the music travels.
Yeah, so we look forward to sharing that with you on the 13th episode of Apple and Oak.
Yeah, lucky number 13.
Until then, fam, enjoy that sunshine.
And don't get burnt.